everyone! I love air plants, and as you can tell, I've been really getting into them lately. The thing I like best about them is their versatility. They don't need any soil, which means you can put them pretty much anywhere, as long as they get enough bright light and somewhere where they can dry out in between waterings. Air plants belong to a group of plants known as epiphytes, which are plants that attach themselves onto other plants, but they aren't parasitic. So they use their roots for attaching only. That's the only reason they're there. They gather all their nutrients and moisture from the air through their foliage. One of the biggest questions I had as I started to acquire more air plants was how to display them. I've seen so many beautiful pictures of air plant arrangements on the wall and on tables, and I didn't know if they could be mounted permanently or if they needed to be mounted in a way where you could remove them to water them. And I also wasn't sure if you could glue them on or not, or nail them or staple them. So anyway, I thought some of you might have the same questions, so I'm going to show you several different awesome ways to display them, and hopefully it will answer all your questions. The first thing I want to show you is a few different examples of mounts where the air plants are removable, so you can water them on their own. I've got 4 here. These are using U-bolts, this one is using a hose constrictor, and this one is using wire. But you could also use twine. Just make sure not to ever use copper wire because copper is toxic to air plants. The U-bolt is really easy. All you need to do is pick out a neat looking piece of wood and drill holes with the bit the same diameter or slightly smaller than your U-bolt. You can always hammer the bolt in if you need to, you just don't want it to be loose. To hang it on the wall, you can use a sawtooth hanger. They come in packages at any craft store, or you can take it up a notch and use 2 double point staples and hammer one in on each side of the top of the wood, then cut twine and tie it on. I like to use 3 pieces of twine for extra support. If you are mounting a larger air plant like this beautiful one, you might need to add an extra anchor to hold it on. I drilled a small hole about 2 inches up from the U-bolt, then ran a piece of fishing line around the plant and through the back of the wood and tied it off on a small screw right here. The hose constrictor is pretty self-explanatory. Just use a metal drill bit to put a hole in the restrictor, then screw it into the wood. I love the look of this one. It looks very repurposed to me. As you can see on this one, I used a heavier gauge wire and just drilled 4 small holes in the front of the wood disc, then inserted the wires diagonally through the front of the holes so they crisscrossed, and then folded them flat onto the back. If you want to display air plants but not on a wall, maybe on a coffee table or something like that, then I think these are perfect. They can go both modern or rustic depending on the stain color or wood you choose, but they are a cinch to make. All you need is your wood, a drill, and a spade bit. Just drill a hole about 1 to 2 inches deep, and that is it. Put your air plant in and done. Another spin, no pun intended, is by using wire to create a sort of holder for your plant. I actually just used scrap pieces of wood for these. This one was in the scrap pile until I got to looking at it a little closer and thought by just adding a small piece of wire, it would make a really neat little home for an air plant. And for this one, I drilled a hole and used 5 pieces of scrap metal to make this really cute setting. And I really like the last 2. Probably because I like the contrast between the dark stain and the gold wire, which I just spray painted with gold spray paint. It looks like copper, but it's not. Remember, do not use copper wire. I just drilled a hole in the top, then twisted the wire around a flashlight we had in the garage, painted it up, and boom. I love this next one. Air plants and sea urchins. Keeping it real, people, I think that these are adorable. They are so cute. They look like little octopus. And bonus, you can still remove the air plant to water it. These will hang from the ceiling using fishing line and a tiny little stick or twig. Just feed the line through the top of the urchin, then tie it onto the small twig, something small enough to make it through the bottom opening. Attach it to the ceiling and then just push the air plant through the opening, and that's it. Super cute. These next couple of examples are of more permanent displays. The difference here is I'll be using glue, so the air plants will remain on the mount, meaning you have to be able to either take the whole mount off the wall and water it in the sink, or it needs to be hanging somewhere where you can mist it regularly. So one idea is using this plaque. Before I glue the plant on, I'm going to drill a couple small holes near the base of where the air plant is going to be so I can run a piece of twine through and make a decorative bow on the front. I'm going to just glue my plant on using E6000. There are several types of glue you can use to attach air plants, but E6000 is the most recommended because it's waterproof and it dries clear. Just don't use super glue, it's toxic to the plants. When you glue your air plants on, you want to make sure you apply glue only on the woody stolon, which is found near the base of the plant. That's where it forms its roots. If you glue anywhere else and then that leaf dies, then the leaf will eventually want to fall off, and then that means your plant will fall off the mount, and you'll be back to square one. Now to dress it up, I'll tie my bow. And for the last example, and probably the most popular, it's creating a driftwood centerpiece with your air plants. You don't have to use driftwood though. I'm just gonna use this piece of wood that I found out in the woods that I thought was pretty. If you do use driftwood, be sure to soak it in water to leach all the salts out. I haven't had to do this personally yet, but I believe you have to soak it for quite some time. I've heard up to a few weeks. Well, that's all I got, guys. I really hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please share it with your friends. I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Ow! Every time we do video, I get hurt.